today. Okay.
Who's going to go first?
All right. Well, I'm going to say a couple quick things to get us started. So thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. I don't know about you, but I have so many photos that are just personal photos, work photos, freelance photos, and those are just mine, and I'm overwhelmed by them. So I can't imagine some of the challenges that some of your organizations, your magazines face as you try to navigate how to archive photos, how to best be able to find photos in your archive, and just that whole process. So today we're going to talk to two people who have been going through this as well. They kind of have different processes, are at different points of the process as well, but they both represent very established magazines that have been around for a long time that have a ridiculous amount of photos. So they have a lot of good stuff to work with. And so throughout the chat today, they're going to go through some slides of some information they want to share and tell their story. But afterwards, please don't hesitate to ask questions. If you have some things that work well for you, don't hesitate to share those as well. We want this to be a conversation, but we're going to lead off today with Becky Newell. And Becky is the editor-in-chief for AQHA Media, the American Quarter Horse Association. And she just comes with a lot of great experiences in our industry, but I think she'll be the first to admit that photo archiving is kind of been a new challenge for her as well. So Becky, I'll let you take it over from here. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, everybody. I am coming to you from Las Vegas, where we are doing one of our Level 1 championship shows this week and weekend. And so I am up at the crack of dawn to participate in this and then also go work at the show. Go ahead and move to the next slide.
Okay.
The American Quarter Horse Journal has been around since 1948, so you can imagine, like Jennifer said, we have a ridiculous amount of photos. We now publish the Quarter Racing Journal, America's Horse, and we're adding 2 new publications this year, the Ranch Horse Journal and the Performance Horse Journal. Those will be, the Ranch Horse Journal will be quarterly, and the Performance Horse Journal will be 6 times a year. So we have photos, thousands and thousands of photos that we shoot at our World Championship shows. We shoot at major horse races. We have photos come in every day by email from different racetracks. And those are horses that may win like 1 or 2 races in their lives and then be turned into breeding stock. And a lot of times the owners will have the stallion photos because, of course, they promote those stallions. But they may only have 1 or 2 photos of the brood mares, and sometimes those brood mares go on to produce a lot of horses that do really, really well on the racetrack, and then they get an award called the Dam of Distinction Award, and when it comes time to present them that award, we may or may not have photos of that horse. So it's really critical that we save as many photos as we can, just because of the archival value of 10 years down the road when that horse may or may not be the recipient of an award that, you know, we'll need a photo of them for. So anyway, that's kind of what we've got. And then, of course, stock photos of sorts. So go ahead and move to the next slide. Right now, all of our photos are currently stored in a room, this room. There are, I think, 26 file cabinets, I think. And it's a locked room. It's probably 5 of us have keys to that room. Anybody who needs to use any photos from that room have to go to a specific person to get the key, check out the photos. That person will then scan them for them and send them to them by email or put them out on our network for them. We have had so much trouble with photos disappearing. People from throughout the building come and borrow the photos or a folder, and it never comes back. So it's really frightening to even think about how much we've lost. So go on to the next slide. those photos are prints, there are slides, there are large format negatives, there are digital photos burned onto CDs, which we all know will not last very long. There are just negatives in boxes like you see in that photo. It's just pretty scary about how everything is stored right now. We actually had a roof problem a couple years ago where our roof failed after a large rain, and a couple of different offices were flooded, and so we were really lucky that nothing happened with these photos, but it really scared us, and so it's really time to do something different. Of course, then, in the 2000s we started shooting digital, and a lot of those photos have been backed up on CDs. Some of them are actually on the Office network. And then we also just have external hard drives where we've stored these photos. We have an AV department that does a lot of our video production, so they have a lot of high-res video on Drobo storage devices. So we're also looking for a system that will help us catalog and store that video as well, because we had a TV show called America's Horse TV, and then we also have our own YouTube network. We're working on some other plans for video and production and such. So, and then when we do our World Championship shows for the last 3 or 4 years, we have done all of our World Champion stories, which, just at the World Show alone is 99 interviews. And we've done all those as video on iPads. And so we've gotten into video production now. The editors, the writers have. So we have all that video as well. Right now we're using Lightroom to, as part of our workflow process. What we do is, like, for example, at the World Show, I will do all the photo processing, and that way it gives me an idea of what we've got. I have a pretty good memory, and if I see a photo that comes across the screen that I think would be suitable for either the print coverage of the show or maybe even a really cool cover shot, Lightroom allows me to tag those in specific ways. And then also, when I'm importing a card of photos, I also add all the keywords that we have and the photographer's name and rename the files that way. So that's all attached, and hopefully whatever system we decide to use, that will all that information will all travel into and migrate into that storage system. Basically, yeah, that's what I basically just said. So I'm just hoping that this kind of helps us clean up our work process. And besides just pulling a photo for our web coverage at the World Shows, I also have to pull photos for press releases. Those all have to be a certain size. Anything we put up on our website or in a slideshow, we put watermarks on so that if somebody happens to borrow them, they see our watermark. So it's just a good way that creates a workflow process for us so that we're not jumping between 3 different programs to process photos. Obviously we know we need an archive. We know we need a backup system for storage. We've stuck our heads in the sand long enough, so it's time to move on. I kind of look at the 3 archiving options that we looked at. We're kind of like Goldilocks porridge: too hot, too cold, and maybe just right. The system, go on to the next slide. The first system we looked at, we have a museum and Hall of Fame, and that museum uses a system called MIMSI, and it helps them archive all of their photos, their art, the things that have been donated in collections and such. And I thought that would be perfect because they're just across the driveway from us, and then we would be able to just add users to their system, and then our photos would also be in their system and on their storage. But it just had so much more to it that we really didn't need. And honestly, the company that owns MIMSI didn't act like they wanted to work with us all that bad. So we just sort of set that aside. And then we also have a new system not new. It's been around in our office, but it's used by our registration department. It's called OnBase. It's a customized archiving system, but it's pretty clunky, and I don't want to say antiquated, but it would need some customization for us to be able to use it. It didn't have an area where our keywords and such would be automatically imported into, so it would require more manual work on our end, and that just wasn't that great an idea. And then, of course, the people that manage that system outside of our building, their customer service is just really sluggish. So that one was the too cold. And then what we found was Dalim ES, which is managed by Blanchard. Blanchard provides our software and systems that get our magazines pulled together and sent to the printer. And they're out of Louisiana, and they are just fabulous as far as customer service. Basically their Dalim ES system would just add right into what we've got, and then and really wouldn't need much customization at all, if any. And then it will also archive our video for us. So like I said, the 800-pound bear in the room is the storage question. We can archive this stuff, we can catalog all of it, and be able to have access and control access to it. But what are we going to do as far as backup? If the server goes down, what's going to happen to all those photos? So AQHA already has a huge storage system that we can buy space on, and then they're also going to look into cloud storage, I guess, too. We are waiting on the IT department to finish a multi-million-dollar database project sometime next year. So at this point, I think we're kind of in a holding pattern until that project is done, so that then we can integrate this photo archiving system, and then basically budget to buy space on that server moving forward, and then whatever backup space we would need. And I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now I want to introduce Kathrin Gresham. Kathrin is the photo coordinator at the Angus Journal, and she's going to tell us her perspective of photo archiving and what they're doing at Angus.
Hello, everyone. You want to put my slide up? Thank you. Oh, that's the different one. Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kathrin.
So this is the old one that we set up?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Are you going to be okay with that?
Well, I think so. I just hope everybody can read it because it is kind of small.
They'll be listening to your beautiful voice.
Thank you. I've been with American Angus Journal since 1997, and at that time there wasn't an archiving system. The server was, or the photos were dumped out of the archive at the time that the magazine went to print. So over time I started collecting these photos so that I wasn't scanning them over and over again. And the archive started to grow. And once it grew, then it kind of became a monster. You want to go to the next slide?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Sorry. With 2 hands.
There are several things that you can do when you're creating your archive. There's things to keep in mind. You want to select a place to save all your digital files, and with us that's a massive project. You want to select the photos that you want to archive. When we go to these shows, there are multiple poses and photos taken. We usually select the best and archive that. You're going to prepare the photos, and that's the scanning process. You want high resolution RGB or halftone, JPEGs or TIFFs. You want to give the photo a descriptive name, and you want to save it to your new archive. Next slide, please.
Sorry, Kathrin. I was trying to get your other slides up, too.
It's fine.
Okay. I need 4 screens here. I don't have that many. Yeah, sorry.
Okay, when you're archiving photos, photos are loaded with information. Once a photo is gone, then it's gone. There's no way to get it back. So as you can see from these photos, these are part of our archive here at Angus Media. we keep this stuff forever, I guess. Next slide. Our current archive here, as you can see on the left, is our server. And this is a massive piece of equipment. And yes, it's kind of pricey, but it's well worth the investment to save our photos. Lower, you'll see a desktop external hard drive. Now, I keep this on my desk at all times. I'm constantly updating this. Not only is it on the server, it's on this external hard drive. You can also use the portable externals, like the one that's next to that, or you can save to DVDs and CDs. Okay, when you set up your server, you want to make sure that you have read access and write access IS person, but anybody else that needs to get to that server to pull files off, you want them to have read only. That way they can't write back to the file and destroy it in any way. And this is our massive printed photo archive, and this is just a couple of pictures of it. Like I said, it's massive. We have aisle after aisle of boxed photos that are overflowing. On the right bottom, you'll see all those brown boxes. Those are all negatives, starting back in the early 40s. So it's important to keep this stuff and get it all digitized for future use. Next slide. Okay, you're going to prepare the photos and you're going to name the photos. What we do here is we use our server, like I said. We tried to use the program Lightroom, but our archive outgrew it and caused the system to run really slow, and it was going to require massive updates to the computer in order to accommodate the massive amount of photos that we have. We use the Angus search window to find the photos. So in order to do that, we have to name them with names that are easy to find. As you can see at the bottom there, there's photo tags. And a photo tag is just a descriptive name or a descriptive information that is tagged onto the back of the photo name. You can see I used my name in here. We do names by last name first. There's so many ways that you can tag photos, and you just have to look and see what you're working with and find the tag that works for you. Next slide, please. This is the structure of our archive. I use the alphabet. Alphabet works good. You can see that we have a master catalog server and a master photo server. In the master photo server is where we keep all the animal photos. Of course, those are alphabetized. And you can see as you get into the archive that there are extensions on the names. Our example is SJS Blackcap Lady 802-COB. This tells me that this photo is an animal photo and it has a background change. Next slide. This is more of the structure of our archive. You can see the show photos. This is done by year, and then by show name, and then within the photo by animal name and winning. And then once we move that from the archive for an ad or a catalog, then we tag also to the end of the name what show it is. So you can see by the name of this that it's APS Heritage Reserve Grand Champion Bull at the 2016 National Junior Roundup. It's a lot of information just in the animal name. Mm-hmm. Next slide, please. Our master photos also has other photos in it, and this is where we're going to keep our people photos. By people photos, I mean anybody that has like a headshot photo or ranches that have photos of different people or different speakers. We keep those by last name first within folders. And then at the top, you'll notice that there are other things like the American Angus Auxiliary. And you can see how that archive has been situated by year and then by names within the folders. Next slide, please. Master catalog runs just a little differently. Of course, they're alphabetized again, but within each folder is a ranch folder. and within each ranch folder is the contents of the photos used in their special services, catalogs, flyers, postcards. And this archive starts in 1999, and we went digital right around 99, 2000. So this is all saved information from years and years of print media. Next slide. This is another way that you can tag your information on your photo. I found that going through the old journals, a lot of times people would like to have a photo, but they want to know what the cut line said. And so rather than go back to the book each time and find the cut line, I usually tag it onto the photo, and that's just by typing it in Photoshop and making a cut line underneath the photo. This describes everything that's in the photo. If somebody wants this without a cut line, I just crop that out and send it to them that way. Next slide, please. Here's another way to tag information to photos. This is using Spotlight, and this works on a Mac. I don't know how it would work on a PC, but in Spotlight I can pull a show photo, give it the proper name, copy the cut line, and paste it right into the comments section there. And so far I've had really good luck at that never disappearing. Now, when you do a save as on the file, of course it disappears because you're creating a new document. But on the original document, this is a good way to keep your information intact. You want to back up your archive. Our IS person uses Retrospect and backs up our server on a regular basis, so those files are all backed up. And as a precaution for master photos, I keep that all on my external hard drive. And this is updated on a regular basis, and we keep these separate hard drives in a bank vault. And that's off-site so that if something happens either place, we still have a copy of the original images. And like I said, this is updated several times a year. It's also feasible that you can use CDs, which is one way to back up all the massive catalogs we have in special services. I keep a copy of the original files on CDs and DVDs. That way, if I don't have a file that I need out on the server, then I can find it on the CD or the DVD. Okay, so we've gone through how Angus archives their photos. I do not do the videoing, so that archive is done by a separate person. This is strictly the photos that are used in the magazine and in special services. So now it's time for you to see what your needs are and start the process of creating your archive and sit back and watch it grow. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, well, you guys just got a lot of information, so how can we answer some of your questions? What are some of your challenges? Okay, we have some typers going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I guess first question, Becky, how many keywords do you enter when you sort photos in Lightroom?
Oh my goodness. I try to add the show name, the year, the photographer's name. If it's a world champion and I'm collecting those photos to use for press releases and such, I also go ahead and label those. If I had more time, I would actually enter back numbers, the horse's name, and that kind of stuff. It's just a matter of not having enough time to go back and do all of that. But I do try to get at least the basic, like the class name, the show, the year, and the photographer's name at least.
All right. Next question. What off-site source do you use for your archiving? So, I think this is kind of open. I think we've got a few questions of, does anyone use online systems, tab-based storage systems. I'm trying to figure out how to maybe put a poll together to see what people use, but go ahead and type in or speak out. What are you guys using? Yeah, I know. I don't know why we're getting feedback. I'm afraid that happens when someone has their phone on and their computer. So you should only be logging on through your computer. And if you're not able to hear on your computer, then just call in on your phone only.
Did that make it better?
Does that help a little bit?
Could be.
Sorry about that. Okay, so Christy Lee asks, love seeing the approach to attaching keywords and captions for photos. How much time is devoted to this archival work, Kathrin, and how would you recommend a small office handle that process?
I devote as much time as needed to the archive, but it's easy because as I'm pulling the photos for the journal and for the sale books and preparing them, then I make sure that they're named correctly at that point. So then I can throw them into a folder, and when I get time, I can throw them into our archive. So that's time permitting. I would say maybe a few hours a week towards this. That would be time saving for a small office as well. So if you just name the photo and put it someplace until you're not busy, then you can add it to your archive at that time. Does that answer the question?
And I'll just jump in and say, too, that that's why we're using Lightroom on the front end, because it is so much easier to do it all at the beginning and not have to go back and add those. I think Katie asked something about doing a batch label, and that's basically what I do is when I import a card, I batch label that card of photos for that class, that show, that year, and that photographer. And then as I go into that batch of photos, that class of photos, and I'm pulling out the world champion or a specific photo for a class, I'll go ahead and add more keywords just to those photos to be able to sort them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Trying to read through the questions. Yeah, I was going to say that's what is so nice, being able to get that information stored right away. Do you batch label a lot of your keywords, Becky and Kathrin?
I don't use batch labeling because there are custom tags that I'm putting on so that we can locate them within the shows or by photographer or the year that they were taken. There's just a lot of information, and going through Spotlight I can punch in like a tattoo, an animal tattoo, and it'll bring up all the photos of that particular animal. So there's a lot of time saving there as well.
Mm-hmm. Becky, do you do all of the photo culling, or do the photographers do that?
I try to do most of that because I'm managing the photo processing at the show. Now, if it's different events, I rely on the photographers to cull those. Again, they may be short of time, so they don't always have time to kill out the bad stuff. So as I'm trying to go through some of those photos on my own, when I'm looking for specific things, if I see a bad photo, I'll immediately cull it.
Mm-hmm. Another good question from High Plains Journal. Do you guys have a library of tags that you use?
Mine's specific from, oh, sorry, excuse me.
Go ahead, Kathrin.
Okay. Ours is specific from photo to photo. A show photo, the tag is going to be different for each show, as well as, and you can copy and paste those tags onto the names as well. For photos that have been cut out, then we have a specific tag for that, which is EXT for an extracted photo. Photos that have a background change, or photos that have photo editing done to them, say a halter removal or fence post taken out or mud manure cleanup. We just stay with the same system of naming. like last name first, and then or animal name, and then by year and photographer, or by winning and show. So those are our specific type of tags that we use.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm at one of our World Championship shows, we are also, of course, putting our content on our website, and those pages have to have keywords added. So I have the web team give me a list of keywords that they want used on those pages, and I put those into a notepad document, and then I take out some of those and create my own set of keywords for Lightroom, so I can just copy and paste those in there, and I'm not having to try to remember them from one class to the next. So basically I have the show name, the year, and a couple other things I can't remember right now. Anyway, I've got those, and then I just add the class name and the photographer's name.
How do field photographers send in photos to the home office?
We have photos come in from all different directions. We use Dropbox an awful lot. It's a wonderful tool to have. Photographers will send in photos to many different people here, so it's just a collaboration of people to find out who has the photos and where they're located. So if the photographer was to send directly to the photo department, that would be awesome, but it doesn't always happen that way.
Mm-hmm.
Right now at AQHA, we have a couple of field people, and they're basically storing their photos on the external hard drives that they have. And if they happen to shoot an event that we're all going to need access to the photos for, then they'll put them on our network drive for now. But like I said, we've got them coming in from all directions as well, and I'm hoping once we get a system established that they can automatically put those into the archiving system themselves.
I'd like to add to that. Dropbox, it would be ideal if you would create a folder for each advertiser or whomever is using the folder and share that folder with them. If you keep that folder on your hard drive and don't delete it, and they keep it, then you can continually use this folder over time. So if you're doing a catalog in 2015 and then you're doing another one in 2016, as long as that folder is still in place on Dropbox, they can use the same one over again, just drop the files in, and then I can pull them out. So it's really time-saving if this system was to be implemented where each person had their own folder.
And I'll just add, we use Dropbox a lot with our freelancers, and we absolutely love it.
It's wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Okay, are there any other questions that you guys have? Sorry, just trying to. I thought I saw some typing, but it stopped.
Okay.
Well, so I tried to do a poll, and I got 4 responses, so I think that maybe didn't go over so well. So tell me, I'm just curious, one of the things that we're using is Photo Shelter. We don't have nearly as many images that we are working with as you guys are at the university here for our marketing department, but we do have to share the images with quite a few people, and so we've probably got about 100 people who are coming in and trying to pull photos off of that site. So I don't know, does anybody else out there, have you ever tried Photo Shelter that's listening in? But
I've never tried it.
Or heard of it?
No, I don't think I've ever even heard of it.
Yeah. It's an online based, it's a cloud based system.
Okay.
Let's see. And I did want to point out that if you guys would like to, you're able to download their presentation if you wanted to see their content up a little bit closer or keep it for future reference. So please feel free to do that, and we'll be sure to also share out the video of our conversation as well today.
Okay.
Anything else? Everybody good? Becky or Kathrin, do you guys have any final words or thoughts on the process? I really appreciate all that you shared.
Thank you for asking us to participate.
Yes, thank you.
Well, as always, I'm stalling here just in case you have questions. This is a tactic, but if you guys have any follow-up questions, that one of the best parts I think about being a member in an organization like LPC is that you're able to reach out and ask each other. And I know Becky and Kathrin would be happy to chat more about some of these things. And hopefully you've been able to see some of the names of those participating on the call and asking questions over in the conversation. I think it's definitely something that lends itself to a good discussion, and so I apologize for the feedback. I know that there must be something going on, or somebody's left the call, and I'm not really particularly sure if that's causing the feedback or what, but we've got some just silly stuff going on today, and I wish I knew how to fix it, but I just can't, so I apologize if that's been annoying. But
Jennifer, I wanted to tell you that we also have angusphotos.com, which is on our website. Okay. And so the bulls and the cows that are used all the time that are requested from many different areas in the industry are out there on this on our website. And this is a free download, so they can go in and fill out their information, which is for our use to find out how much the site is used, and they can download whatever photos they need to that are out there. And if there's a copyright on the photos that are out there, then we have a release that they can be used within the industry as long as they're not altered. So it's a way to get massive amounts of people to get the most used photos the easiest way possible. Is that helpful on your cloud question?
Well, I think that's interesting to know how you guys set that up. That's one of the reasons why we use Photo Shelter too, is we are able to track how many downloads that we get. So we pay for the service, but we're able to, we could even charge people for the photo downloads through Photo Shelter. So if we wanted to charge for photos at some point, that system would keep track of that. But that's not our intention. Our goal is just to get them out. But it is nice to be able to know.
Yeah, copyrighted photos, those are something that's kind of touchy, so you have to make sure that you have permission on those.
Right. Yeah. For us,
and if you promote your site, then more people will come out there.
Yep. Well, it's definitely a challenge to figure out the best way to get our images stored and shared, and it takes a lot of time if you're having to constantly be sending out photos to people, and so that's one of the reasons that I also have liked the system, that I can just direct people to the system and they can get what they want to get out of it.
Well, our site also has where you click on, you can get their pedigree as well as the image of the photo. So you have your choice to download both or either.
Yeah. It's definitely a way to add more services or value to your membership, for sure.
Yes.
Good job, Angus.
Thanks.
Well, if there are no other questions, thanks again for joining our call, and we look forward to our next one, and we'll send information out about that soon. And thanks again, Becky and Kathrin. I really appreciate your time and helpfulness today.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting us.
Have a great day, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye.